Hey everyone, I'm Benj. This is What Could Be Bad. Welcome back. I'm really excited to be in Nashville, Tennessee. We're actually recording in Chris Goulis's drum studio. It's awesome to be here, to be in Music City, and I'm very excited that on this episode I get to speak with Noelle Scaggs. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm super excited about this because we spent so much time this summer,
Yeah.
together on tour. And when you're on tour, there's so many things going on, and you don't always get like quiet time where you can just
Yeah.
really talk. And I there was a lot that went on the road.
Yes.
This
Yes.
summer was a lot for everybody.
Yeah.
And I know you had quite a few things going on, which I want to chat with you about. But I never really got to ask you some questions. And
Yeah.
I was so impressed with like the way you carry yourself
Yeah.
when you perform. It is like you're a force up there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
it's really cool to see. And the shows were just so fun to watch. And you guys are so like animated, and the crowd is so like there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Since day one, it's kind of been that way. I come from a school of like hip hop, performers, and I learned how to perform watching my friends on stage and how they commanded things. And it took me a long time to kind of get there. I think my band before really kind of helped me with the way that I performed. And, it was always for me just making sure that the crowd was engaged, because you never know until you get them to say something, right? So it's just like the music I think that we do is really about that. It's about bringing joy to people and just kind of enforcing that on stage is what we do.
I felt it. And,
Yeah.
I mean, so can you tell me about some of that early, experience? Like, I'm curious, who were those, hip hop artists that maybe influenced you, but some that you, like you said, you had another group that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear about that. I'm just curious kind of where all this came from, because it's like the confidence and like the swagger that you have up there is like a seasoned veteran of knowing how to do it. And I love that.
Yeah, I've been in the industry as far as like a performer since I was a kid, but I started really like in my college years. And I was in a popular songwriting course, which is how I met a few, friends of mine who were hip hop artists. They were all like independent. I grew up in LA, so it was, one of the things was the ciphers and, freestyle sessions and like all of these things. And I was, kind of sneaking into clubs that I shouldn't have been in, but, I was able to go because I either knew the promoter or I had met or had been privy to. And, my scene back then was a club called the Root Down.
Okay.
Which was a very, very popular like hip hop and, kind of soul club. And that is initially where I kind of started to see different artists play. But I was, dating a hip hop artist, they were all from Pasadena, and I wasn't really singing a lot for folks. Like I would only sing during the popular songwriting course. And I was kind of a bit shy about it, but I think I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it on the artistry level. I was very much interested on the business side of things. I studied publishing.
Yeah.
I loved songwriting. That was the thing that I really wanted to hone into. How can I start writing for other artists or creating with?
Yeah.
But I think obviously like the universe has a different plan for you when you also have the talent for performance and stuff.
Sure.
It's just like, I think for me, how it happened is I just started kind of doing songs with my friends, like they would ask me to do choruses or can you sing the chorus on this song? We're doing a show. This is like our first big show. Will you come and sing with us for this one song? And I would do that. And that's effectively how I met my first band, which was called The Rebirth.
Okay.
And we had a song called This Journey In that I was invited to, the bandmate at the time, his name was Carlos Huayco, and he was one of the promoters for The Root Down.
Okay.
He also happened to be an insane producer and keyboardist and total audiophile. Like that's
awesome combination.
Awesome combination, right?
Yeah.
So he invited me to come and kind of just jam with him and the guys because they were, looking for a singer, he was starting this new project. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come and jam, but I hadn't made the I didn't know if I wanted to be in the band. It's like, oh, it's fun. You know what I mean? Like, let's just
Yeah.
jam out, you
Yeah.
know? But with that, ended up being in this band for 8 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We traveled all over Europe. Our first record was called This Journey In,
Uh-huh.
and I was a co-writer on that project. We played together every single day. In LA, we played different, clubs. Obviously, Root Down was one of them, but we would do all of these crazy, events. And
Uh-huh.
through that kind of network, I met all these insane DJs across the Beat Junkies crew. I met all across the world. We were working with like tastemaker DJs, the Benj,
Fantastic. Yeah.
the Mr. Scruffs of the UK, and Giles Peterson, who was the biggest.
So you went from
champion.
from not
Yes.
like necessarily even knowing if you'd be interested to being in like a world-class level
Yes.
of music.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
immediately.
Immediately.
How did it go like internally from being like, oh, I'm not sure, like if that's a thing, and then like what did it feel like once you were doing it?
I think honestly, I kind of just went with the flow.
Yeah.
I knew when something resonated and when it didn't. And it for me, it was always being connected to that spirit and idea of connecting with folks that you truly, genuinely have a soul connection with. And those things would always pan out. The other things would always fall off. It's like friends, right? Like when you think about friends in your life, people that are seasonal, people who are mainstayers.
Yeah.
That's how I think I always approach music, just internally and maybe subconsciously. I was always attracted to the folks that would bring me to the next level of whatever it is I needed to journey through. And that's kind of how I always did my career. And it was the same thing when I met Fitz and the Tantrums, because I left the Rebirth
Uh-huh.
after, our first record. We worked to do a second one. Things were not really moving in the progression that I would move. Like I felt like I was always waiting for somebody to get out of their head about it. And I felt like there was a ceiling.
About the writing process or
all of it.
All of it, yeah.
Touring, financially, it was very difficult. We weren't making a ton of money to really take it to the next place. And we were trying to do everything by ourselves because we were kind of this force independent thing. We had a distribution company, but it got to a moment for me where I recognized if I'm really going to pursue a career, I know that this is not it for me.
Right.
That there's another range for me to hit, another challenge for me to go on. And is it a solo project? So I left the band and my focus was on writing songs for myself and, kind of moving towards a process of doing a solo career and figuring out if that was for me.
Yeah.
And I did that. I started writing songs, started working with different producers. I was on, obviously, like features came out of the project with the Rebirth. I worked with Dilated Peoples, was one of the very first projects working with Evidence, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Prior to even then, I had, been introduced to this world music band that came out of my solo working.
Okay.
And I performed at the House of Blues in LA with them. And we ended up doing a project called The Rose That Grew from Concrete.
Beautiful name.
Yeah, it was based on Tupac's poetry book of poetry.
Yeah.
And all of these different celebrities were on this project, but it was produced by this African producer named Femi.
Okay. Not Femi Kuti.
Not Femi Kuti.
Okay.
No, Femi Otalanje, I think was his last name.
Yeah.
And I was just introduced to all of these crazy musicians that were literally from like Congo to Sudan to Morocco.
How incredible.
It was wild.
Yeah, like the connections and also the amount of influence like globally from all those different cultures that have such vibrant music that are unique to where they are.
Yes.
To bring that together. But then so that performance of The Rose That Grew from Concrete, am I saying that right? Like that was like only poetry, or was there music kind of like brought into the poetry?
The music was created based upon the poems.
Okay. I see.
So the song that I sang was a song called If There Be Pain, which was a Tupac poetry.
Yeah.
And it had spoken word, and it was just this kind of collaborative project.
So you wrote a song to the poem?
I did not. I just performed the song.
Okay.
The song was the lyrics were written from the poem.
Okay.
And then the music was produced and played by these musicians that I had met. Femi was the producer.
I see. Now.
I was the singer on that project.
I see. Okay,
So that's kind of how it worked.
Yeah,
it wasn't any, other than just singing and performing on it. That's what the extent of my work was. When I worked with Dilated, it was, they had this idea, and obviously Evidence writes most of the things. So as far as just like the production and all of these things, that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So they had this song called Nightlife, and that was my very first time performing with them. And then after that, I did a bunch of other projects with them.
I love it.
And worked on several different records with those guys. I ended up working with the Black Eyed Peas through knowing one of their former bandmates when they were the At Band Clan. The very original member was Mookie.
Uh-huh.
And I was really good friends with him. And I met him during my college years. And I would hang out with these guys. So I was at the Black Eyed Peas studio, and I ended up doing their, Elefunk record with them. I did several songs on that album. And it's just
There's
a lot
all
of
these things I didn't know. These are all fantastic and amazing.
Stones Throw Records. I did a lot of projects for them, so I was able to work with like Madlib, produce songs. Jay Dilla produced songs. Like it was just this kind of community in LA, and we all kind of kept each other working. And I don't know. It's just like a whirlwind of things came out of that lineage of this California, Los Angeles scene. Word of mouth.
That's so beautiful. I love it when like the spirit of artists come together in a collaborative way, and sort of everybody picks each other up, and everything gets bigger and grows, and then it's almost like a movement more than just like we're gonna put out an album or something like that. Like there's like an energy to the collective, as opposed to just like one little thing. Like if I don't know what the best example would be, but if there was like it's just even like a solo artist. It's like you have all these great, incredible, talented people coming together
and there's like a 3 degrees of separation for each of us. That scene of LA was huge, but it was also small. Jurassic 5 too. They all played at the Root Down. They all played at Elements. They all, we were all a part of this really wonderful culture of hip hop and soul music and DJ culture.
Wow.
All developed in that city.
Yeah.
Looking at the east side of town, it was pretty much, it was Highland Park, it was Melrose, like deeper part of Melrose, not Melrose Place, but like LA.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? It was east side of LA, north side of LA. And that is where I cut my teeth as a performer, as a writer, as a recording artist. That all came from that scene.
Looking back on it, what do you think like that did for your I guess psyche when you do work now? How did that set you up to be the person that I enjoyed watching so much over the course of the summer?
I think for me it was learning how to be in my body. And I think that comes with time. I think that comes with time and practice and failures. All of these life situations kind of forced me to dig deep into what I wanted to present as an artist. And some of it was by mistake, and it just became a part of my process and my routine. When I would get on stage, I was always the B-girl, on stage that was able to do the call and response. I was always kind of figuring out my voice and my range, and because I had the ability to work with so many incredible live musicians who were so seasoned in what they did, and we all had these various connections through music and inspirations, that it allowed me to kind of transform myself. And as you get older, I mean, I've been doing this for over 22 years. Oh my God, over 22 years now. And it just becomes a part of who you are as an artist. Like I will always present myself, I think, in that manner of being able to hone into whatever the music is doing, but I am always that reacher outer of audience.
Oh, I could see that every night. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the way you would get people involved in the show and
Yeah.
being part of the energy by getting them off their butts or whatever
Yeah.
was going on and
Yeah.
up out of their seats dancing and singing along. It was very evident that that was a natural way that you carried the stage, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
the music as well. I think just it also obviously complements that, but
Exactly.
it goes really clearly and well together.
Thank you.
Yeah, enjoyed that so much. I wonder, is there like a specific, like, I know there's all these people, but was there a specific like guide or mentor in that time period of like getting to maybe the, you know, the point where you were doing the global collaborations for the Tupac poetry?
Yeah, I mean, I Carlos was a great figure for me in connecting to my voice
Mhm.
because he had such an ear for singers and such an ear for knowing whether or not you were BSing on record. And he had a way of getting me to really connect to what I was singing, right?
Mm.
Because it's a difference between singing a song and being connected to it.
Yeah.
And because I was a self-taught singer, I wasn't a singer. I didn't take lessons until my mom discovered that I could sing, and I didn't start them until I was 16.
Oh, wow.
But I've been singing since I was 9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just for
So
fun,
it was just fun.
yeah.
For me, it was writing. It was learning how to sing the songs that I loved. I always sang along with every record.
Sure.
And I was just so enamored by voices and different types of voices and how singers would sing a song. And I would sing along to that. So within that training, it was me singing along to other singers,
Yeah.
but not necessarily learning how to sing in my own way.
Yep.
Right. So that came with time for me. But Carlos was really great at getting me to learn my own voice and recognizing what sounded great for me on tape versus trying to sound like someone else. And that's a challenge for a lot of singers, I think, is to figure out how to sing the song best like you.
Yeah.
Even if you write it, it's like sometimes it doesn't come out the way that you have in your head. It's like the way that I hear my voice is completely not what comes out on tape. So trying to figure out how to get that sound and that resonance of what you have in your head
Yeah.
can be like, it can be defeating. It could be like, you know,
Stressful.
stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all of these things. And I used to hate recording because of that.
Uh-huh.
Because I would hear something and I'm like, this is not what I
Right.
hear in my head. Why can't I get this out?
Yeah.
Right.
So Carlos helped
Carlos
channel
kind of
that.
helped channel that
Yeah.
energy, that youthful energy,
Mhm.
and bring it into a maturity on record. And I got to say that record that I did with that band is probably still one of my favorite albums I've ever done.
Well, I haven't heard it now, so I'm excited.
It's a very
especially
cool album.
with this. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, just sonically speaking, he was very meticulous. He worked in great rooms. We recorded to tape, even though it was digital. We had Pro Tools. We did all of that, but everything was warm
I love it.
and had just a clarity about it. And he was always really good at that. So I took that practice into anything that I would do, even now.
Right.
You know,
Like the connective nature of really feeling
Yeah.
something and like locking in with how you want it to be
Yes.
and making sure you nail that.
Yeah, yeah, and even, you know, the songwriting, taking an approach to lyricism in a way, of it being poetic and not basic,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to do a basic song in that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
sure.
so hard to do. And then I would also say will.i.am was a massive mentor for me. That time that I had with just being in the room, not even necessarily performing on the songs or anything, just being in the room and watching how things came together at that level, right? Because at that level, it was between Dilated and them, that was major label.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's a whole different
mean,
world
yeah.
from independent, doing whatever you want creatively, right?
Yeah.
And then doing it in the circumstances of it now being a bigger business and having to do music that can collectively, globally take you
That's what I'm thinking.
to a different space.
Is like the way that they bring music to the world is it
So-
reaches so many more people.
Yes.
You know, and it's like it's not simple. You know,
not simple.
there's a lot there if you break it down. Like the hooks are there, and
Yeah.
those are the simple parts or whatever that you're always gonna like hear and remember and sing. And you drive past the car, somebody's screaming their heads off.
Yeah.
Like that's the part.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to the tracks.
So much more to the tracks. And I think also just how they were, and especially him being the producer of the songs, unafraid to shift, unafraid to take on pop. Although, I think he had his moments in the beginning when it was like, are we going to work with Justin Timberlake? You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
It takes you to a different trajectory of being this underground, hip hop band to a independently sounding band, even though you were on a major label. It was just classic hip hop.
Yep.
He was one of the best freestyler battle rappers in our community. He was one of the Will 1X. He was one of the best that could do it. And those freestyle moments, and he still does, and he still has that way of being able to connect words in such a way that I always find fascinating. But, when I was, kind of like trying to hone into whatever my songs were going to be, I was always writing. I was always doing stuff that he never knew about. And then he would walk in and I'd be playing something and he'd be like, who wrote that? I did. Why don't you ever write for me? That's literally what he would say to me. Wow. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I've never, because I also was very shy.
Yeah.
I was always like, well, if you want me to do something, you would ask me, or you would inquire. Because I knew that he knew that I could sing because of
what you were
our friends,
working on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
through
like
other people.
Yeah, through other people and stuff. And then it would just be, I started to get more comfortable and they'd be doing something and I'd be messing around and I'd start singing. And he'd be like, Noelle, go in the booth and sing that part or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he was always
encouraging.
Always encouraging.
Yeah.
And he would hear something. He knew I was shy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But a closed mouth don't get fed either. But
like the advocacy for your own abilities at some point, like you get comfortable enough to like, speak for yourself.
And that's what the Rebirth was for me.
Yeah,
because when I started the Rebirth, that was the first time I turned down a session for Will. He called me the day that I was going to one of our big rehearsals for a show that we had.
Wow.
And I told him, I can't do it. I have rehearsal. He's like, well, can't you come before? And I was like, no, I can't come before.
Yeah.
I can't ditch rehearsal to do this.
Yeah, it's too important.
Can I come in later? And he is like, no, I got to get it done now. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? But that was the first time I had turned down a session.
That's cool that, you knew what you wanted.
Yeah.
And you stood that ground. Yeah,
totally. It worked out. And, it's even now with Fitz the Tantrums and all of the stuff that I was kind of able to do between. That's how I met our saxophone player, James King.
Yeah,
James is the reason why
awesome. I
effectively met Fitz.
Okay. Yeah, love James.
Yeah,
had
James
a lot of good
great.
experiences with him.
He's the most insane.
So talented.
So talented.
And so chill.
And so chill.
Yeah.
He's super smart.
Yeah.
Very well read. He's one of the funniest guys in the room.
Love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we go back to those days. He played on the Rebirth record. He was on that first record. He did 2 songs with us, and I met him effectively in the studio initially.
Sweet.
And then later we ended up doing a run together. There's this band called Connie Price and the Keystones, which is made up with all of these different musicians from LA scene.
Sounds fun.
Part of the whole, collective of the Root Down.
Love it.
Goes down to the Breakastro, which was a break beat.
Sure, yeah.
Live band. They would do James Brown style covers and original music.
So sick. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But they were like this breakbeat, classic hip hop soul band.
Awesome.
And every musician worth their salt in LA that came from that community had played in that band, had sat in with that band.
Wow.
Jeremy, our keyboardist included.
Yeah.
We were all part of that collective of musicians.
I love that when it's open and it's like welcoming and, some of the most unique moments I would think would come out of allowing the space for people to be themselves and play in a new kind of
Yeah.
group in that way,
Yeah.
where it's not so structured, like you got to play each song like this pop song is
Yes.
this song on stage live.
Yeah. Yeah.
That must have been exciting to just be a part of that in
Oh,
itself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The freedom that you have, the jamming, just to have a moment where you just it's so funny because I watched you guys do that.
Yeah.
And those are the elements of live that I often miss sometimes, right? Because it's like our music is so different than what I was doing
Yeah.
when I was first coming up. And it has elements of that, right? Because our first record, it was Motown, it was new wave, it was all of these things. And then our trajectory changed as we grew.
Yep.
And we're 5 records in now,
Yep.
right? And that was such a journey for me to kind of come from this element of even us live. There was no playback. And
Yeah.
then we need playback and we need
Yeah.
to have both. There's this like,
How do
we balance
Yeah.
that world?
We've went through that as well.
Yeah.
I think you guys do a great job of making that not feel like it's so structured.
Yes.
Like the way things happen on stage for you guys feels organic and feels live. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel planned or anything
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
Which
We
is
try.
Yeah.
We try to do that. I mean, obviously there's moments for me, I'm like, God, I wish we could just venture off and jam in this one section.
Yeah.
And then you're like, the amount of energy that we have to put on stage, like there's this like
Yeah.
fine balance
Yeah,
that we
totally.
have to find.
I want to talk about the energy after I ask you another question. So thank you for all of that like backstory because it's really interesting to me, like
Yeah.
knowing you more through your experience leading up to when we got to meet. When we had first gotten on the road, we took a little like day trip.
Yeah.
Okay, and we were sitting in a 15-passenger van,
Mhm.
and I couldn't help but overhear that you lost your sister
Yeah.
in that, and I never wanted to pry or anything because I respect you and all people and your privacy and all that. But I was curious if we could talk about what it's like to be, because for me, being on the road, it can be some of the loneliest moments.
Oh, yeah.
When you're away from everybody and all your support zone. And I wanted to ask how it felt to go through something like that when you were away and like, you're on tour, you're kind of stuck. Like you
Yeah.
can't, I mean, you can leave, but
Yeah.
like I know you're dedicated to your group and like you have a passion for this, but what was it like to go through that, for you, and how did you handle that mentally, because
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
It's huge. I mean, it was a very unexpected loss. It wasn't anything that was an expected or anticipated possibility. To get a phone call, I got a phone call, a few days before
Mhm.
from my dad, and it was a voice memo because I'd missed his call. And, obviously the first process that you have is to emotionally break down, which is I had my moment of that. And
Mm.
I process death in a way that it leans into silence. And I think that's exactly what happened with me. I didn't verbalize what had happened. It took me a couple days to even tell the guys that it had happened.
Okay.
And I broke down on stage. It was when we were in Philly. I dedicated one of our songs to her, but I hadn't spoken it. I was a mess during that show. That for me was a really emotional kind of day
Mm.
because I was processing what happened to her and our moments prior to that. Like I hadn't spoken to her because we had a fight, so there was this kind of guilt. There was this sense of like, I'm never going to get to see her again. There's all of these emotions that happen, and to
Sure.
have to process it while I'm on tour was my very first experience. We've
Yeah.
had band members and the band had lost parents, that had to deal with very, very heavy matters with siblings.
Yeah.
Everyone has had this crossroads of being on the road with a heavy moment with family, be it loss, be it challenge.
Sure.
And that was my first experience with it. So I think for the most part, I was able to manage it okay, but I didn't manage it well to where it didn't affect me physically.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, it was already a difficult tour for me because I had come off of a European vacation. I was kind of thrown into doing a show before the tour was going to start, so I didn't really have time to adjust to being on the
Like
road
getting into
and
the
getting into
mode.
the mode and
Yeah.
routine.
I understand
And
that.
the last few tours have kind of been like that. We went from pandemic straight to touring. We were kind of touring in between, but it was a big tour and my body wasn't ready for it. But this, for whatever reason, this was probably the most physically enduring, like tour
Part of
for
that might
me.
have been because we were asking you to stay up till the very end of the show after your performance and do one song
Listen,
two
it's
and a
not the
half
first
hours later,
it's not the first
But
time that
yeah.
we've done that.
Yeah.
It's like when we've opened for other projects.
Yeah.
It's like One Republic we did that with, and
Yeah. I love those guys.
yeah, they're wonderful. But it was, I think it was beyond that. It was a lot of things. It was food, it was rest, it was emotional impact, it was all of these things for me just kind of coming into my body because it had to be released somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Because my composure, for the most part, had to be kept.
Yeah. Yeah. You did
You
a
know what
good
I
job
mean?
of that. I feel like I mean, I know
Yeah.
that it's impossible to not have moments, but from what I saw, that's why I also wanted to do this with you, is
Yeah.
because I have a lot of respect for how you carried yourself throughout the tour. When you say that, like, all those factors of rest and food and, like, bringing them into your body and those are affecting you, was it that, like, you didn't have the sort of, like, stability of what you might at home to, like,
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
that kind of thing? It wasn't that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, just even talking about food. Food is such an important part of my world. I'm a cook.
I don't know.
I am such a food person. I travel for the purpose of trying food and learning how to cook it and exploring and
It's
all of these
awesome.
things. I learn about cultures through its food
Sure,
processes
yeah.
and its community. And on the road, especially in the US, it is very difficult for me to find food that I will eat.
I see.
You know what I mean? It goes now beyond pickiness. It literally goes down to how it makes my body feel.
Yeah, I'm with you
You know
on
what I'm
that. I
saying?
Oh,
So,
totally, yeah.
and when you're conscious, because you guys are very conscious about taking time to work out.
Mhm.
I am an explorer. I like to hike. I like to be places, So sometimes tour, it's possible for me to do that. It's possible for me to hit a state park. It's possible for all of these things. I was so already tired by the time we started that tour, just physically because of the time zone changes I had gone through prior
Like, from
to
one
that
it was, like,
one.
no
I
days in
was in
between.
Italy for a month.
Yeah, and then all of a
And
sudden
then
you
all of a
just.
sudden, 7-week run in
Yeah.
different time
Wow.
zones. So I think for me, it was kind of like, all right, well, I kinda did part of that to myself.
Okay, yeah.
But then I didn't know that everything was going to kind of shift and, just kind of navigating the way it is. But I've
Yep.
gotten to this place where if the food is not good, I will not eat it.
Mhm.
And I'm not eating as much as I should be for the amount of energy that I'm putting out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it
This is
starts to
starting to
manifest
make a lot
differently.
of
Yeah,
sense,
yeah, and
like.
I'm older now. I'm not like when I was in my 30s that if I did that for a couple days and found a meal that was appropriate, the final,
Yeah.
whatever, I would be
Catches up
fine. It
faster. Yeah.
caught up a lot faster. So
Yeah.
that whole journey of like, oh, I'm not, not spring chicken,
Yeah.
but I'm not a dead fish. You know what I'm saying?
You certainly are not. And I mean, I really am seeing it clearer now, and
Yeah.
it's so tough on the road for that. And, like, here's the other part is, like, I feel like you can tell me if I'm wrong, right? But, like, we don't wanna, like, ever complain when we're out there
Yeah.
because, like, we know we're lucky. We know that
Yes.
it's like a beautiful thing to get to
You
do.
still do it. And
Yeah.
listen, I am of the idea that it is okay to have a complaint about something if you do not energetically project it into negativity and that where everybody else can feel it. You can have your complaint.
Right.
everybody knows that I'm gonna have a complaint about food that's not good because
Yeah.
we're all and
That's your
most
thing.
of
Like
my
you love.
band
Yeah.
is pretty we're pretty much food people,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Um, uh, but I think there's a difference between when the complaining becomes where it's impacting the energy of positivity
Hmm.
on the road.
Yeah.
And those periods of maturity are kind of the ebbs and flows, right? Because everybody's in a mood, everybody has their own mood. It's kind of what's reflected within the group, right?
Hmm.
And that's years of touring with this band. We've been on the road together for 17 years, and I was younger, but I'm younger than all of the guys in the band, right? So I had my moments of growth and needing to learn how to communicate better and not being aggressive. And,
Sure.
like when I was having a bad day, per- everybody knew it. You know what I'm saying? It took me a long time to kind
That's
of
me
get
and
out
our
of that.
band. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I think like yeah, when you get to know people's ways, like yeah, it's hard not to notice the smaller changes,
Yeah.
like because you've really seen the gamut of the
You've
way
seen the
people are.
gamut.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we all kind of like learn how to find our space by ourselves
yeah,
to really take that time on those days off. We're either together or we're apart,
hmm,
and it's okay.
yeah,
And it's okay to verbalize that you're exhausted and you want to go home.
yep,
And it's okay to have moments where, like, oh my God, this was the best show ever, or no, the crowd freaking sucked
yeah.
and that show sucked and the sound sucked that day, but it was,
And we're not going to say
we're not
which
going to
show
say
that
which
was.
show that was, but
Yeah.
we're human.
Yes,
And I think it's easy to get out of that headspace of being a human being because you are a public figure.
right. That's a really big point right there.
You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
I can have a bad show.
yeah.
I can think that the crowd was not as great as the last time we were
It's
there.
true.
You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
it was a little bit more sterile, or it was like way more exciting than I thought it was going
Yeah,
to be.
no, you're so right. Yeah.
You know?
It's
Yeah.
something that you don't wanna, like, say it to the people, but,
No.
like, it's obviously, like, a thing for us as individuals. You feel it. It's,
Yeah.
like, the same way I would think, like, for you, you're saying you're, like, connected to the way you sing, like, you're
Yeah.
connected to the response
Yeah.
after you do it long enough, you really like, it's like an immediate, like, understanding,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a thing. Um Okay, so I wanna keep in mind the timing.
Yeah.
Ironically, I was supposed to start the clock to keep an eye
It's
on it. This is
fine.
my space brain.
Yeah.
But, like, okay, so your, tour is tiring and all those things are happening, and I know as when things went, like, it was sciatica that
Yeah.
you were dealing
Yeah.
with. Now, do you see that as, like 'cause sometimes I feel like my physical issues are a byproduct of my mental state,
Yeah.
my emotional state.
Yeah.
Um, do you see them linked, or was there something that happened that you had to, deal with that was,
Uh, honestly, it's crazy with my back. That started on the road.
mhm,
I laid in my bunk and I felt my back go out.
mm,
And I was like, this one's not gonna be good. You know what I mean? But I think over time, obviously, the movements that you do, the high impact, my hips, yes, I do believe that it was emotionally and physically kind of connected.
yeah,
I think that there was an inevitability of this happening to me.
yeah,
Um, anything, body work, like me being able to access, massage care and, all
that
of these
stuff
things.
matters
That
on the
does
road.
matter.
Yeah,
It does matter on the road. But I think that there was a connection with my back, primarily because the sciatica comes from your hips.
mhm,
And most women, we carry our emotions in our hips, we
yeah,
carry it in our calves, and
mhm,
we carry it in our shoulders.
yeah,
And there's the weight factor, right? And I think for me, it was between all of the things, the exhaustion, the loss, the already being like, "Oh my god, this tour is going s it's this tour is way longer than it should be," and it's
it
not
is a
even that
lot.
long of a
Yeah,
tour,
yeah,
right?
it
Like,
was
it was, like, physically feeling like it was the
yeah,
longest tour I'd ever been on,
yeah,
and it wasn't that long, but I think that all of that was connected. It was all internally connected, so
yeah,
yes, because when I got off of the road and I started, like, physical therapy to, help with all of that,
yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah, good.
You know what
I'm
I
glad
mean?
you are.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I wonder about when you're going through these things and, like, What does your mind do in the sense of like the responsibility for putting on the show?
Yeah.
At like, when you're feeling like that, like how did you, how do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, was a lot more conscious of my movement. So I was way more in my head
Hmm.
than I would be for any other show because I physically have to
Manage.
manage
Yeah.
and not moving wrong.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Even on the days where I felt a bit better,
Uh-huh.
I wanted to be conscious of that because I didn't want to make it worse.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So I was in my head a lot more, and with that comes like, "Oh, am I singing right?" And you're like, there's just all of these different kind of little firing things that happen and of your like,
The micro,
anxiety,
yeah.
the micro anxieties and stuff like that. So I was a bit more uh l- more in my head than I was in just my full body.
Sure.
Um and then, I knew when I couldn't do a show.
Yeah.
Well, I missed a show because I had to go see, to my sister's
Yeah.
funeral. And I was weighing on whether or not I was going to come back for the end of the tour. We were ending in
I
Cleveland and
know
my
it was a few.
family is there.
Okay.
So I was weighing on whether or not I was just going to stay in LA and kind of recover before I went back home.
I see.
So there was conversation on whether or not I was going to finish the tour at all. And I just felt like I needed to see my brother and I needed to finish out the tour. It was the right thing to do. And,
Yeah, I'm glad you came back,
yeah.
and it's cool. I didn't realize that your family was there, and
Yeah.
like I would imagine that's a big relief to connect with, like
Yeah, it
the
was
people who are
nice.
going through the same, feelings of loss and
Yeah.
all that. Like I don't know that misery loves company thing or whatever, but it's more
Yeah.
like I don't mean you were miserable.
Yeah.
Just it's sad to lose someone who's a part of your life,
Yes.
and to be with people who knew them.
Yeah.
It to me it's always helped
Yes, absolutely.
in that. Well, all right. So I have one more question that's a
Yeah.
departure from like the fully
Yes.
serious stuff and all that. This is
Yeah.
a little bit more fun. So I have a thing I do called "What Could Be Bad" record polls,
Okay.
and what it is if there was a song or an album or something that was meaningful to
Mhm.
you that has been an inspiration and kind of helped, just shape even like a moment or a bigger part of your life.
Yeah.
And I've created a Spotify playlist to share everybody's,
Yeah.
songs. So,
Yeah.
if there's anything that and I know it's a little bit of putting you on the spot.
Oh, man, that's like
There's
a
yeah, I know. I should have given you more. This is the thing of the episodes is I
yeah.
keep doing this where I forget to tell people like that I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm
It's
buying
right.
you time.
Well, it's crazy because I'm always listening to records, but I mean,
Yeah,
like, for me, inspiration songs, my god, I grew up with so much, like, funk and, like, disco
that's
and
cool.
things like that. I was a huge Tina Marie fan, so
Uh-huh.
I'll probably throw out Portuguese Love. It
Ah,
was a big song. It was,
okay.
like, such a fun song to sing when I was
Yeah,
a kid. I didn't know anything what it meant, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But it was a inspirational song as far as, like, learning to sing at that level,
yeah. That's so cool.
and she
Yeah,
was such a powerhouse performer,
yeah.
and, you know, just to kinda have that spark and energy of confidence, she was one of those performers for me that
I
was
I love it. That's a
that level.
perfect answer,
Yeah.
especially with no notice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank
it's a
you.
good record.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm so grateful we could do this. I have a lot of respect for you,
Thank you.
and it's just great to like some of the, like get out some of the questions that I have and
Yeah.
really hear such thoughtful, real answers about it. I appreciate your honesty.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the call, and,
Yeah.
we had such a great time on the road, and you were, one of the guys, and they were like, "Come hang out. We're doing this thing." And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you kind of opening that space and wanting to get to know us because it's easy to kind of get locked into your own
Yeah.
little thing,
And we do ultimately for a
Yeah.
lot of the tour go there,
Yeah.
but it's nice when you have those moments and, I feel like, we were like there was such a good vibe out there
Yeah.
that it was every connection that was
Yes.
special and great, and I was
Absolutely.
glad I reached
Yeah.
out for this one as well, so
It was great. Yeah.
awesome,
Loved it. Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. This was What Could Be Bad. Remember, be good to yourselves and be good to others.